great word of wisdom is if you don't like something, change it, but recognize that a lot of things are out of your control. So try and change those things that are in your control, I guess. Now, if you're down in a slump and you're like, a bit depressed, you can do this exercise where you just look at your breakfast in the morning. Oh yeah, I cooked that breakfast and I made myself a drink, a coffee and a tea. You kind of look at it and you're like, wow, was that really me? That kind of feels like a dream now. Like that was 6 hours ago. If you take that perspective to your depressed period and you think, in 5 years' time, I'm going to look back at this and I'm going to laugh. Try and hold that perspective if you're feeling down, because everything passes, really. And you should try and change it and be a bit happier. But I mean, obviously, that's a bit idealistic. Sometimes it's really tough.
You're listening to Ecomonics, a Debutify podcast, your resource for one-of-a-kind insights into the world of e-commerce and business in the modern age. This is Joseph. I'll be presenting a wealth of industry knowledge from interviews with successful business people and our own state-of-the-art research. Your time is valuable, so let's go. Connor Curlewis, I've been looking forward to this day for some time now. It is good to have you here in Ecomonics. How you doing today, man? How you feeling?
Yeah, I feel real good. It's a beautiful day here. It's been a while. We've been talking about this for at least a year, if not 9 months.
At least, well, I don't know. I don't know about at least a year. I don't think either of us have been here for quite that long. But this has definitely been a long time coming. So, to our audiences, our respective audiences, Connor is also an employee of Debutify, and he does the YouTube side. And so we thought, let's do a little bit of cross-pollination. We want the YouTube people to know what we're up to on Ecomonics, and we want the Ecomonics people to know what we're up to on the YouTube. So that's the objective of today. So it's an in-house conversation. Going to have ourselves some fun, get to know each other a little bit better. And I also want to be super transparent with my audience, as I did zero preparation for this because I wanted to see how I fare in improvising a conversation on a podcast. And extra transparency, I'm also not tracking time for this. So that is as transparent as I can be under the circumstances. Connor, why don't you tell us what you do in a more extensive way than I had described?
Good question. I am very lucky. I basically am an employee of Debutify, and I make YouTube videos mainly. That's kind of the bread and butter. One YouTube video a week, but recently it's kind of bumping up. We do ads, we do webinars, I do in-house tutorial videos. It's really quite extensive and fun, but it's mainly I write something and then I record it, and my face is in the recording.
I think you and I both probably share a similar experience in that with companies that are on the forefront or on the frontier and are rapidly expanding, is the roles that we sign up for are not the exclusive roles that we end up doing. So I myself, I just signed up to host a podcast, and next thing I know, I'm running the multimedia department, which means gaining a pretty vast amount of experience in a lot of places I wouldn't have expected to gain experience. So managing a team, didn't see that coming. Providing feedback on other people's material, didn't see that coming. VSLs, I had no idea what the hell those are, even though I'd seen them for years prior to this. So learning what they are, learning how to do them. Same with webinars, and I think this speaks broadly to really one of the beautiful things about a frontier industry such as e-commerce is that there's so much new ground to gain and to explore that most people will end up playing multiple roles, especially for people like us, where we have, I guess, the luxury or the privilege to be front-end, be front-facing and do performative work, and then also be able to do back-end work as well. So did you see that coming too or did you not see it coming when you signed up, or like what you thought you were getting into versus what you're doing now?
My one of my bosses, my old he was an owner at a bar I used to work at. I was the manager there. He sat me down once and he said, I know you want to be a film director, but you're not gonna make the movie that you want, And he looked at the bar that he was in. It was this beautiful seafood bar, and we made cocktails, and we lived in Takapuna on the beach. And he was like, I just wanted to run a bar, and I just kept that goal going for 30 years. and I do run a bar. This is not the bar I thought I was going to run. I didn't know it would be here and what we're doing now. And that's kind of what's going on at Debutify. I wanted to make videos since I was like 11 years old when I moved to New Zealand. I started making videos, and I guess that's kind of the thing. If you keep your goal broad enough, you can keep making progress. I definitely didn't know what a VSL was, and definitely want to steer clear of them. But they're actually pretty fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, and there's a lot about your background. You know, you and I we've talked many a time, and so I've been able to pick up on some of your background, but we haven't really had a chance to really dig into it. So you said you moved to New Zealand when you were age 11. I did peg you for a native New Zealander. Are you a native New Zealander, or are you a native of a different country?
Yeah, in 2006, I'm born in Plymouth in England, and my dad's in the Royal Navy. And so from 0 to 11, we moved all the time. And actually, I've kept that up for the next 15 years. My dad went to the Second Gulf War and the Bosnian conflict. And that was in the early 2000s. And my parents just said, this is kind of ridiculous. Like, dad could get killed, and we're already just moving around so much that it's such a like displacement for the project of just like being in a family. So we originally were going to move to Argentina for just 1 year. And then mom and dad were like, why not New Zealand? And it happened very quickly. Like in about 2 months, we switched from Argentina. We were doing Spanish lessons. And then we, just got on a plane. My parents had never been here. And we just moved when I was 11. Yeah. And my mum still wants to go home to the UK. And I've been back a few times. I just lived in the UK for 2 years by myself. And it's weird having a whole extended family and friends who live on the other side of the world. Like my girlfriend Jill, she says I have 3 lives, because I have friends in Massachusetts and like a community in Massachusetts. I have my friends and family in New Zealand, and then I have my friends and family in Edinburgh and London. So it's a bit chaotic, but that's kind of the thing.
No one in my family, at least as far as I know, are in the military or have even so much as picked up a weapon. Of course, I come from an Italian family, so
it would have been a bit of that.
Well, I mean, in an Italian family, most things can turn into a weapon. But that aside, I guess I can't help but wonder what I guess mindsets or lessons or insights or perspectives were instilled in you having somebody in the military. Now, is it fair to say military, or do you prefer to go specifically into Navy? Because I understand that there are
true.
both might participate in conflict, but one's naval, one's not.
No, my dad says military.
Okay.
So and definitely, it's a really good question. The installation happened early. My dad made me go to Sea Cadets from 9 to 18. So I was kind of being groomed for leadership. It was weird, actually. In Sea Cadets, they always said, we're not making you ready for the Navy. That's not what this is. And I always thought it was, because it was just fully a mini younger version of the Navy. You did firearms training. We did tramping training, where you'd go and like do survival in the bush. We'd run complete drills of platoons. And I was when I left there, I was a chief petty officer. So it was like the highest rank you can get to in the kind of the corps. I was there for 9 years, so it makes sense. And it was only like about a year ago that I met someone in government, and he said the whole idea of the cadet corps is actually to create the leadership of New Zealand. And it's the same in the UK, because I was in the cadets in the UK. And it definitely instilled a lot of lessons. I think the main thing I've retained is discipline. Like I love my cold showers in the morning. I like to just like do the things that I know are like short-term painful, but long-term really rewarding. And communication skills were really kind of like we did teacher training for so basically from 9 to 15 you're just like a grunt and you just have to kind of do stuff. But then when you do 15 to 18 you do like leadership courses, and they try and teach you how to be a teacher. And so you have to do lessons. Like every Wednesday I would teach a lesson, like a whole hour. And yeah, you definitely learn how to kind of articulate. And then if you have any issues with other cadets, they try and teach you how to resolve that. Like there's a lot of kind of egos where people are like, I'm the higher rank here, and I'm older than you, and I'm bigger than you, and I'm stronger than you. And I'm a skinny young guy, and like there's a lot of big guys at cadets, and you had to just sort of take them aside and say, have we got a problem? Let's just resolve this quietly. Like there's a really bad thing you can do in the military, and that's discipline somebody in public. Like it's so bad for the morale. And if you can take a guy who's older than you, stronger than you, and like a higher rank than you, and just be like, hey dude, I don't like what you did there. And it's scary, but I think if you do it 100 times, you eventually learn how to just talk to people.
I'm not a history buff, but every now and then I pick up snippets of it if it happens to be on TV, or I guess more recently passes into my YouTube algorithm. And I remember that I believe this would be the Civil War, which George Washington was in command of. And I don't remember if he was the North or the South. He was
definitely North.
North? Okay, yeah, thank you for that. And his army was facing some serious morale issues. There were deserters, and he felt compelled to hang some of the deserters, some of the ones that were caught in front of the army. And that didn't do good for morale, but they decided that they had to, because they also wanted to instill in people, you cannot leave the army. And so what they showed is he had, I think it was a French general or commander, started teaching them about discipline and started teaching them to really think like soldiers, and to, even just like improve their posture at the very least. And he trained up a bunch of these people. They all went out, they trained up a bunch of people, and it started turning the conflict in their favor. And what you're telling me reminded me of the difference between, publicly reprimanding people in front of everybody, to send a message to try to get everybody to fall in line at the same time, versus privately dealing with that. And it's actually kind of a surprise, if I'm being honest. I from, I guess the stereotypical depiction of the military and the TV, I guess I would always assume that if somebody were to be reprimanded, one would actually go out of their way to put them in front of everybody else to make an example out of them, even if they had an opportunity to do so in private.
Sometimes you do have to do it in public, but it's usually just for like a minor thing. And that person who's doing the reprimanding would probably be an outlier in the system. The system is definitely telling you to just do it one-on-one, because you kind of just get the opportunity to hear their point of view. If you're just yelling at someone across a field or across a hall and there's like 100 people around them, they're not going to be able to like shout back and be like, well, you see, what I was trying to do there was...
Yeah, well, I mean, if somebody wants to shout at me in public, they're more than welcome to be on the opposite side of a field and start shouting at me. At least that's funny. So,
yeah.
So getting back to more company stuff. Not that I don't want to go into it more, but you know how it is. What I think is interesting about you and I is that, and we discussed this, I guess, in how we were conveying ourselves as the front people of the company. Is my persona is the guy who's basically like locked in his room pretty much all the time, and like I look out my window and it's just other windows, and you're the opposite. You are you're a traveler by nature. Even seeing your background, it's just, well, it's pretty bright right now, but usually when I can see it, it's trees and foliage, and when you had mentioned that you had moved around quite a bit, that is, I think, what probably the most distinctive difference between our perspectives, because I didn't have that, and I don't know if it's a luxury or if it's not a luxury. It's just a different experience. So, I mean, I went to the same elementary school for 8 years. Hated it for 7.5 of those years. And then I went to high school for 4 years. Hated that for about 2.5, so slight improvement. And then I went to college. Hated that for only 0.5 of those 2 years. So it was actually pretty good in terms of how much of it I hated. I actually very, very appreciate my college program and have numerous good things to say about them. But all the while, my worldview is always expanding, not unlike a rock being dropped into water and seeing the ripple go outwards. At first, my worldview is just going to school, and then like for me, adventure is going to the mall because it's this big place and there's stuff to do. And then high school, my worldview expands a little bit. I start to be more comfortable, even like going downtown. And college, again, it expands because I have to go even further out. And then we're locked down, and now I'm stuck in my room for the last year. But my worldview has been very methodical and slow, but I anticipate that it will continue to grow, especially in the next 5 to 10 years, depending on how things go here. And travel has to become more of a important components to my growth and development. So if everything is going according to the pattern, my worldview will continue to expand. So I'm going to ask you your perspective in an opposite sense. And I just want to make sure what I said makes sense first. Okay.
The difference is perspective. Yeah, totally.
Okay, you're getting the nod. So, but with you, it's you've gone to a number of different places, and that travel, really the persona of the traveler, it continues to manifest. In the time that we've been working together, which has been almost a year, you have had like 12 different backgrounds for all the different places that you've been. So, would you say that you're used to traveling? That it's a second nature to you, and is the idea of really being in one place for a long period of time to you, is that foreign in the same way traveling is a foreign idea to me?
Yeah, that could be a good way of describing the dichotomy. Yeah, it's this is my 17th house, so it's a bit different. I think what you said earlier about the luxury or the kind of like con of it, there's definitely a lot of both. Like my best friend Michael, he's lived in Lavery Place for 24 years, and his house, to me, I've been going to his house for 16 years. So I'm like, this is kind of like stable, comfortable. You get that from a long-term place. From moving so much, I've definitely benefited because I find it easier to make friends. So yeah, many primary schools, and lots of different areas, and lots of different countries. I think making friends is a lot easier. It's a hard thing to pin down if it's good or bad. There's definitely like a chaos that it brings, but at the same time, there's like a stripping away of the superfluous, because like you said, it's easy for me to travel. And the reason it's easy for me to travel is because I don't own many things. Like I just have the stuff in my bag and I'm good to go. Like I just recently went to Massachusetts with just a small, 30-liter backpack. And people look at me and they go, that's crazy, But yeah, it's the same thing. I went to the UK for 2 years with just the same backpack. And you actually just like don't need that much. People end up giving you stuff. That's what you'll find. If you show up somewhere with a small bag, just middle-aged people go, oh, you need a raincoat, dude. You need like my old pair of jeans. And here you go. And you end up just being like, Jesus, I got all this stuff. But yeah.
Anybody ever offer you a firearm?
I've been given like a letter opener that looks like a firearm. Yeah. Yeah, no, firearms are scary.
Yeah, and for good reason too. I completely agree on that. I guess another way to add some perspective to it is from my view, it's enviable to imagine all of these different places you get to visit, because I know like you got to visit Kenya, for instance. And what I think it does is it does make me consider whether or not I've accumulated the same density of experience, being in a more routine place where a lot more tends to fall into the muscle memory, and there's more, and then a lot more of life is lived on autopilot. And again, this time back to our position here is, the beauty of what we do is that because it's constantly on the frontier, that there's always, new things to learn. And so there's very little of this position that's on autopilot, and for good reason. And so that's what I would envy of a traveler. But if possible, are there things that you've envied about people who do have more of a structured lifestyle where they, well, like me, they just pretty much are in one place for a good long time? I've only been in this apartment for 1 year. And then I spent, with the exception of one other year that I lived downtown, which to me was like my semi-third year of college. I've been in with my parents the entire time.
Yeah. That's a good question.
I don't think most people envy that, but well.
Yeah. I don't want to live with my parents. Yeah, from coming back from the numerous trips, I find that there's 3 of my close friends who haven't really done traveling. Sorry to call you out, but Bryn, Matt, and Harry have all said this to me. They've said, I just want to do what you've done. And then I have other close friends like Kane, Michael, and Connor who've gone traveling with me. And nobody who I know closely has done the extent of what I've done. But there's definitely people, obviously, who've done far, far more than me. And the difference, with like Kane, Matt, Harry, and Bryn, you have a real solid base. Like those 3 guys are like on their way in terms of like a orthodox, solid lifestyle. Like they're all probably going to be able to buy a house soon. They've got a good community of people around them. But yeah, the density of experience is, I'd say, more valuable because like Kenya, for example, I met people there who I stay in touch with now who have just wildly different perspective. Like it is a third world country, and it's probably the powerhouse of sub-Saharan Africa. Like it's not even as bad as other places in terms of like the poverty levels. But the really interesting thing about like those people is that they have absolutely nothing. Like a friend of mine, Vincent, he's living in a room with his brother and his dad that is like probably the size of 3 of my desks. Like it's just this small space here. Like the 3 of them can lie down together at night, and that is the room. And then when they wake up, they kind of move the beds to the side, and they have a little like fire in the corner. And yeah, I mean, they're living in a slum that has now been bulldozed by the government. Like their house, when I lived with them, has been mown down by diggers. And that is like just wildly different to all of my friends here. Like, Matt, Bryn, and Harry are like doing really well. Biomed, software engineer, and chartered accountant. So that sort of density of experience, the way that I draw upon it is like it's completely like unequivocal. Like it just sort of comes up in me. It like wells up. Sometimes I'll just be doing something. I'll make myself a coffee and I'm like, damn, you're lucky. Like those things that just people are like trying to get like just the next meal. And that definitely stays with you. You're like, I have a savings account and I'm going to be able to buy a plane ticket soon. And, it's a different world. So yeah.
It reminds me of a conversation I had with a background actor back when I was doing that. Gosh darn, do I miss doing that.
That's good fun.
So much fun. You spend most of the time just sitting around waiting to be called on set. And people sitting around the tables, you make friends, this thing. I met my girlfriend of almost 3 years through it. Just absolute. Would love to get back to it at some point. But anyways, he was telling me a story about the first time he went to Japan, and he was in for a massive culture shock. And it wasn't the kawaii desu, it wasn't the anime, it wasn't the things that you see in vending machines. So I'm sure all of that was contributory. For him, it was the way everything was so clockwork that was a major culture shock. The way traffic was all so well automated and organized, and everything seemed to be moving like a well-oiled machine, because the Japanese have such a incredible work ethic, and I should say they have an equally admirable artistic and creative ethic as well. And I myself, not having seen that, not even through a video, I kind of got the feeling from him, but it just wasn't the same as, of course, of him actually being there and seeing it for himself. So, would you say that your time in Kenya was probably your most significant culture shock, given that people lived in tiny homes that were being bulldozed, or was is there like a more significant experience that sticks out to you?
Two answers. The culture shock happens back home. It was probably the same with your friend back in the background acting. Like, you go there and you're just completely in rapture with the novelty. And then when you come home, you're like, whoa, what are you guys doing? You're doing it all wrong. Like, the main beautiful thing about Kenya was that those people who had nothing were the kindest people, like uncomparably. Like, I would just walk down the street and people would say, hey, do you want to have some lunch at my house? I want to know about you. Like, what are you doing in Kenya? I would like play football with my students, and people would come join in the game, and then they'd say, hey, what are you up to right now? You want to go play basketball? Come meet my parents. And it was just like, that is never going to happen here on the street in New Zealand. If I go to the basketball courts now, I'm likely to talk to somebody, but I'm more likely to meet somebody who's got their headphones on and who just wants to practice hoops. The second answer, I think in South Africa, I had a bit of culture shock because it was a lot of crime, and that was pretty visceral, and a lot of preventative, kind of self-fulfilling infrastructure that kind of creates crime, just an unbelievable amount of fences and security guards and militarized just patrols, and you're just trying to going places, and you're like, this whole area is kind of screaming that I am in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. You're kind of just a pedestrian. It feels like you're on the outskirts of a prison, but you're in a prison, and there's electric fences everywhere, and there's people with guns. And that was a bit different to Kenya. Kenya was very open, very much like you could just walk into anybody's house and they'd be happy to have you. But yeah, South Africa, it's the complete opposite.
Would you say South Africa was probably the most you felt in danger?
Mm.
Because I think for a lot of people, one of the main limiting factors is there's not the excitement of the unknown, but it's the fear of the unknown. Because somebody could take a trip and be on a complete guided tour the entire time, the safety of a bus and a bunch of other tourists, and have a scripted, almost like a cutscene of an experience, and just be a passerby, versus really walking around and making yourself more vulnerable, but to also have a more I imagine authentic experience.
Kind of create a shield to that vulnerability. Like, as soon as I landed in Cape Town, people grabbed me by the hand saying this is the taxi you want to get. And you just immediately just put up a wall. You're like, no. Straight away, I just went to the bathroom to try and whoa, I have to center myself. Where am I going to go from here? I can't just walk into that mob of people that are trying to get my attention. There were some pretty close calls in Kenya, but I felt very safe most of the time. There was some wildlife issues, but actually the experience that came to mind when you said most fear was actually on a bike packing trip I did in New Zealand. All right. So basically, I was cycling from my house to the top of the country, and it took me a whole month. And I was going to come back and go the same way I left, which was on the motorway, which was real not fun. And I met another bike packer in a hostel, in a campsite, and she was like, there's actually a fisherman who takes people across the Poto Harbor, and you don't have to cycle on the motorway. You can just get a lift with him. And so I went kind of going that way towards the fisherman, and it was real vague. I didn't get in touch with the guy at all. And I managed to get his phone number, and he said, yeah, if you come down to the end of the peninsula and wait for me at 2 p.m. like on Monday, I can just pick you up. But the peninsula was like a full logging truck chaos center. Like there's nothing there at all. There's like 4 residents who live on this huge peninsula. And so what I was told to do was to like cycle at night to get there. But what ended up happening is I cycled like a little bit down the road before it got into the kind of crazy logging truck territory. And I pulled into a pub, and I had like a pint and a pie. And the pub was fully empty. Like it was like a movie scene, like real eerie, just like one lady manning the bar. And she was just like, yeah, I'll get you a pie. What can I get you? And these 2 guys walked in, and they were just like bronze skeletons, like old guys, but like real, like, fit.
Okay.
And they just kind of came over to me like, oh, who are you? What are you doing in town? Like, and I got chatting to them, and they said, oh, you don't want to go all the way down to Poto. It's crazy. And I was like, oh, but I'm going to go anyway. And they're like, well, before you go, you should come to our house and have some joints and have some food. And I was like, okay, sounds great. And they didn't really expect me to go. I left them at the pub, and it was like a 45-minute bike ride to the next town to meet them. And I cycled around the corner, and I pulled into the house and walked through the door, and they both like burst out laughing. And I spent the night with them, but I did just get really paranoid. And I just sent all my mates in the group chat, like my location. And I was like, if I don't message you guys tomorrow, I have been eaten. But that was actually just like worked up in my head. They were actually just really lovely. And I got to the fishermen and skipped a lot of traffic.
What I find amazing about this story, by the way, is I'm trying to identify what was the source of danger each time that you described to me. Is it the lady in the pub? Is it the bronze skeletons? Was it the peninsula? Is it the boating? Is this person that you met at the hostel? And it's almost funny just to have that preconceived notion of where your story is going. And so I'm actually like filtering what you're telling me through that lens of like, okay, well, at what point is Connor in danger? And well, it was more of like, man, there's a lot of uncertainty here, and it's dark, and I'm on a bike.
Yeah, it's more like FUD, just fear, uncertainty, and despair. But it's like what I said earlier, like you kind of just, you're vulnerable, and then you have a shield, and you kind of like fluctuate between like, oh, hey, you're actually a real nice person. I could get to know you. Sure, I'll go to your house. And then you're like when they told me it's a bit rough around here, you should pull your bike inside the house. And they like put my bike in the kitchen, and they locked the door. I was like, that's freaky. My horse has been decapitated, and I'm like stuck inside the house. But yeah, it was no means to be afraid of, really. And
the other thing too about traveling that sticks out to me is, for me, one of the limiting factors has always been, how much money it costs to travel and to have a meaningful experience. But in knowing you and all the times that you've traveled, even in the last year, I guess how do you budget it? This is a far more practical, pragmatic question, but like,
true.
How does someone who, you've been a bartender, a manager for a number of years, not exactly the most lucrative position, especially when we compare and contrast to the other guests that we bring on the program for a completely unfair comparison. But yeah, like how do you budget it? How do you sort out the means to go wherever it is you feel like going?
You never stop traveling. I think like once, like in my younger years, like as soon as I was out of high school, like I went for it. Like 17, went to Europe for 4 months. And well, I guess this kind of helps the whole context. When I went to Europe when I was 18, I had this beautiful girlfriend, Kelly, first girlfriend, and I was so in love with her that I was saving up for this trip the whole time we're in the relationship. And I saved up like 9,000 New Zealand dollars. I was working at a butchery as a cleanup boy for 18 months, $70 a week, and I went on the trip. And I'd like never bought her a single gift in that whole year. So when I was in Europe, I was like, I'm going to get her like all the best stuff. Best stuff being like the most superficial things like jewelry. So I bought her like earrings from where her grandma was born in Scotland. I bought her like a handmade ring in Venice, yada, yada, yada. Very quickly ran out of money. and my credit card didn't work in Europe. So for 24 days before I went back to London, I didn't have many meals, and I lost 16 kgs. I just had bread for like nearly a month, and yeah, really lost a lot of weight, and was kind of like, all my friends said I looked like a zombie. And what I learned from that trip was you should just always hold the same approach to money, even when you've got the money. So even now here, I'm just frugal. So when I like go on a trip, nothing really changes because I'm always just like buying food from the supermarket, cooking it myself. I don't really drink much. So you save a lot of money by like not paying people to cook for you. And yeah, the bike packing trips, that's exceptionally cheap because you're just like cycling around. It's really, you just pay for the food and then you eat it and then you just camp somewhere. And yeah, if you're in like Europe or North America, or then you have to spend money on transport. But yeah, I always just opt for the bus, or the cheapest option.
Yeah, and I think it, like I was saying earlier, is that it speaks to a more authentic experience. I think the more grounded you are, the more you're learning what it's like to live in that place, shop where they're shopping.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about camping outside. I assume that the locals there tend to have shelter, but for the most part. But let's just say people they stay at an Airbnb instead of a hotel. They get more of the experience of a hospitality. And speaking as somebody who, I don't have cold showers, but I give myself a pass because I live in Canada, so it's cold always.
True.
It's we do chase after comforts. I know I chase after comforts quite a bit. It's hard not to, because I didn't have a military level of discipline instilled in me. So it goes to show how much of our limiting factors are in our own minds, and that it's not easy to get over them. But I guess there's some consolation in that. If I know I'm doing something that's making me uncomfortable, that means I'm actually on the right path and I'm going in the right direction. That's why I'm getting to the point where I look forward to travel. It's gonna happen. And to, at least for my sake, I feel like it's going to happen around the time that's meant to happen based off my life's trajectory. So, it's good insights on that one. So again, come back to the company. You, given that you've seen what people have to deal with when they're living with very, very little, and there's wild animals nearby, as you say in Kenya, or there's people living in extreme unsafe conditions, like in South Africa where there's fences, and I was also say South America, and there might have been a lot of fences there too, or even just American South, a lot of fences there too, a lot of people in a lot of uncertain living conditions. Coming into this company, and we talk about we're helping customers and we want to solve their problems. How did you reconcile your perspective of the kinds of problems that you see people in other parts of the world facing, where they don't even have the luxury of the internet to order stuff from Amazon, let alone having the internet and just not having Amazon, versus the kind of problems that you see people are facing in the developed world, such as here in Canada and in New Zealand and in the States?
I mean, I haven't even been able to reconcile that in myself, because I often find myself complaining about something, and then I'll catch myself like, dude, like think of Teacher John. He's like got a lot more going from, or Vincent in Kibera slums. Yeah, one thing I would say that does reconcile it is like donating money. So like just trying to like, you don't really have to think about what you're doing, because you're kind of like, well, some of what I'm doing is just going to help people. Like, so that kind of helps you to work harder, because you're like, this is all kind of like coming and going. So yeah, the what's it called? The effective altruism movement, like donating 10% of your wealth to the most effective charities in the world. But yeah, I think I can't blame people who are like, this is a problem I have, you should fix it, even though it's like a semantic Shopify issue. People are living, we could get onto the free will thing. Like, you're just living a linear life, and you're just like given these choices and given these problems, and you have to make solutions, and you can't get mad at people because their problems are smaller than other people. So I think anyone that needs help, and if you're in a position to lend data or guidance or your time, then yeah, you should. So yeah, and the company is good for that. I love teaching, and I love like helping people out.
I'll throw myself into the crucible as well in regards to how reconciling my own issues is, for me, above all else, what matters the most is, am I creating meaningful connections with other human beings? And in this last year, I've expanded my Rolodex of contacts and connections tenfold more than I've ever experienced anything in my life. Between the people within the company as well as the Rolodex of guests. Earlier this week we had Mark Chapon back on. It was the first time we had somebody back, and just this huge smile on my face that he wanted to come back and do another episode, and the idea that the work that I had done had a meaningful impact on somebody whose time was very valuable to come back and want to do more. So when I do this with this program, I'm still focused on doing my job, but I also think about, what is my role? And this is, my thing on like, the free will versus the fate aspect of it is just like, trying to figure out what is my greatest purpose, and be able to stick to that path, because having trust that, this path laid out for me is the one that I should be on, and it's where I can do the most good. And so, that's the beauty. That's the thing that I really enjoy about what I'm doing here, is just being able to look at the human beings in the face for a couple of hours a week and solve some small problems, solve some big problems, once in a while debate God. It's all good.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. What do you find has been a good problem that you've solved, or what's one of the most meaningful connections you've made there?
That's a good one. So actually, incidentally, the first one was figuring out what was the fundamental objective. And so when we say solving problems, that in of itself was the solution that I was looking for and that I needed right away, to be like, what is the truth that unites everything that we're doing here all together? And that is, people have problems, we provide solutions, and we're compensated for our time. And if somebody can figure out the formula for solving problems on a large scale, they get compensated pretty well for it. And then most of them seem to use that money to go do other things. And again, using Mark as an example, and now he's working on I don't know if I should. Well, he's working on something close to his passion, but I can't say anything else about that. But the idea is, he's earning a great living and then some off of e-commerce, and it's actually helping him focus on, what are the problems that he really wants to solve beyond e-commerce, and it's great to be able to hear that story and inspire others to do as well. So it's kind of a cop-out answer. So I'll try to think of like another one that I can give you as well. I guess one of them would have actually been affiliate marketing, which is a rather banal term in the high-minded conversation that we're having. But if we break down the essence of it, it's encouraging people to talk about what they want to talk about and rewarding people for having a passion rather than reprimanding them for having a passion. If somebody is enthusiastic about jewelry or pet products or video games or whatever it is they can think of in the whole wide world, if they're passionate about it, we want to encourage people to write about it. And, you put a link in, it goes to somebody else who's selling a product, and you get a commission for it. It's win-win. And the thing that I've taken the most comfort in over the last year is feeling like I'm being part of a solution rather than being part of a problem. Is feeling like, when somebody asks me down the street, so what do you do? The easiest way to summarize it, because I've given up on telling people that I'm a podcaster, is I help people set up online businesses so that they can generate their own revenue, and most people seem to appreciate that. And and that means a lot to me, is knowing that I'm contributing to a large scale solution rather than a large scale problem. And then I'll give you one more. So, funnily enough, again, it was the previous guest, Mark, who had brought up this concept of the ecom puzzle, and how each person's view of the puzzle is probably a little bit different. Pieces might be of a different size. So, like me, for instance, affiliate is something I'm very enthusiastic about. SEO is more of like, I need to learn it. It's important, but it's just not going to be my strong suit no matter how hard I try. So my puzzle would be very different. And I think that there is a limitation to what e-commerce will mean when somebody hears that word. They might think it's exclusively Shopify stores. And my argument is, any transaction that happens online would, to me, technically be e-commerce. So if I order an Uber online, a car is delivered to me in the real world in the same way that if I order a product online, a product is shipped to me in the real world. So there's this intersection between reality and online. And so one of my goals within e-commerce is to help make e-commerce become commerce, because the internet is the equalizer that everybody can use to elevate themselves to the level that they feel they deserve to be at. And at some point, I would like to see the E taken out of e-commerce and just it comes to full fruition, and we're actually in the true blending of the online all the variations of online interactions with how they will make our human lives as good as they can be.
Yeah, I think that'll be great. As long as the products are fulfilling,
mm-hmm.
which I'm sure they will be.
And being fulfilled,
Yeah, and being fulfilled.
Okay, so actually, I guess I want to get back to from the beginning is your aspirations as a film director, because there was another divergence between our how we approach our goals. Is your advice that was given to you that you abide by is don't focus on exactly what it's going to be, focus more on the pursuit in a broad sense. And I didn't get advice in one way or another. The way I had come to it on my own is to actually focus very specifically on what is the exact thing that I want to do. And the reason why I wanted to go that route was because it helped condition my decision making to think, is this helping my goal or is it not helping my goal? And if it doesn't clearly help my goal, how will this feed into a broader strategy to get to that point? So the way I view it is try to get to the top of Mount Olympus. Because even if a person doesn't make it to the top, even if they end up on a village or set up somewhere in the midpoint, that's still pretty darn good. But I felt like once I had figured out exactly what it is I want to do, it's given my life a lot of clarity and a lot of focus in making, even if I make a tiny minuscule step to get towards that, it's part of a life's mission. So the pressure is both on and off at the same time. I know it's weird, but I feel it, but I also don't feel it.
Well, it's good that you've come to that by yourself, because if you're being too hard on yourself, it's just going to be a complete mess. And you've got to remind yourself that you're doing good things. So
with you in film is not to make you contradict your motivations, but do you have a vision for some of the content that you wanted to make down the line? Instilling curiosity, somehow like conveying the stories of my life in its essence, like not in an autobiographical sense, but more in like these are the lessons I've learned from being like, I do a bit of other work, and I have this like term that I use is like radical openness, where like these situations where I'm like, you could put the shields up and you're like, this just looks weird. What am I doing? No, thanks. I'm going to keep going down the road. That's like the bike packing thing. But yeah, we'll flag that. If you just completely be radically open and you just see what people have to say, and like you recognize that another person is another person, and they've got a reservoir of knowledge that might not be like academic or within line with what you're interested in, but it's different. So like just that difference to me, I think I thrive off novelty. I think I'd love to make a film about how that's useful for people.
Because I think like today we have a lot of shields. Like it's hard to even connect with you because I'm in New Zealand and like my girlfriend lives in Massachusetts, and it's a constant battle. Even my friends who live in Sunnyside down the road, I get annoyed at them because they want to have a video call, and I'm like, let's just hang out. Like, come to my house, I'll come to yours. And the technology is really great and it's easy to use. And I think, yeah, if I could just make a film that kind of instills a community, curiosity, and openness, that would be great. And I guess that's kind of full circle because I'm not too bothered about what it will be. I know that I'll have fun making the films. And I also recognize that it's going to be a long time before I make that. Like lots of film directors were 30 plus when they started. I did a lot of reading of Werner Herzog when I was younger, and he says, you have to have your own story. If you want to be a storyteller, you can't just read what people have said. You've got to go out and really live. He says, work in an insane asylum, be a bouncer at a nightclub. And for me, the radical openness comes from bike packing, because when you're cycling across a country, eventually the sun goes down during the day and you've cycled all day and it's like, oh, this is brilliant. This seen so many beautiful sights. I had that great conversation at lunchtime, and the sun comes down and you've got your tent on your back and you're like, I have to stop somewhere. And that choice comes in at like dusk and you think, oh, this village looks okay, or this complete remote hillside looks okay. And you just keep going. You're like, no, there might be something better. There might be something better. And eventually it actually becomes dark and you're like, I have to stop. And yeah, that radical openness comes where you just have that decision power and you're like, this looks okay, or I'll just keep looking.
Yeah, because I think for me the radical openness was probably instilled when I was in the comedy community for about 3 years. So for those of you wondering, yes, once in a while I did okay on stage, and I would hear so many perspectives, and people, not only people in comedy do they not have a filter, many of them had an anti-filter where they would go out of their way to say things that are inappropriate. And I would just laugh at the delivery, but I would laugh at the abrasiveness of it all. And it was an intense 3 years, but it instilled in me this willingness to listen to basically anybody. Like if I'm sitting in the in the food court in the atrium, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Eaton Center, it's like the flagship mall of Toronto. The atrium is this benign tumor that is cropped up that all the stores who can't make it into the Eaton Center, they just go to the atrium instead. So and I'm sitting there and I'm eating my dinner, and a homeless person who's out of his mind comes and sits across from me and starts going off about, well, it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure it was like communist China or something like that. And I think most people in that situation would probably have either ignored it or try to shut it down. But seemingly disregarding my own safety at the time, I just sat and listened to him. It came from, I guess, I'm comfortable hearing whatever opinions this person may have, because I know they're not going to scare me. They're not going to affect me. This is how he sees the world, and I'm just going to absorb whatever I can. I like this idea of venom can be very dangerous, but the antidote to the venom is also from the venom itself. One of the most dangerous jobs in the world is to extract the serum so that they can turn it into the antidote. So that's another thing that always resonated with me too, is like your antidote always comes from the venom. So you do have to face that venom in some way.
Yeah, that reminds me of a story. This kind of answers your question. What's the most dangerous you've ever felt?
Yeah. Can you tell me a story where you're actually in danger this time? That would be cool.
Yeah. This is. Well, there's another. Yeah, there's a couple there. I once went swimming with alligators and hippos. That's a long story, but I didn't feel dangerous at the time, so it didn't crop into my mind. But yeah, the venom is a really good analogy. There was this one time I was 16 and I was working in my first job, the cleanup boy at the butchery. And this guy came in into the store, and he was like wearing a Fight Club t-shirt, big red Fight Club t-shirt. And I was like, Oh,
You're
I've
not
seen that
supposed to
movie.
you can't wear that
Yeah,
shirt.
yeah, yeah. He's
That's
ruining the whole
yeah.
thing. Didn't listen. And I was like, man, it's been a while. It's nearly 10 years ago. But I said something like, oh, nice shirt. Yeah, I just said like nice shirt. And he said, oh, yeah, yeah. You want to play the movie? And I was like, oh, no, I'd probably kick your ass. And like, I'm like this lanky 16-year-old. This is like a 50-year-old man, like well-built, stocky guy. And he kind of like grunted, and like I ended up having to like go into the butchery in the back and do something else. And like 15 minutes later, we'd closed the store, and I was going outside to get the A-frames that like hold up all the specials and the offers. And I'm putting stuff away, and as soon as I go outside of the shop, he's right there, waiting for me with his shopping on the floor. And I won't use his language because it's pretty rude, but he was like, I'm going to teach you a lesson, and I'm going to beat your head in. And it was like, I am alone at the butchery because my manager's gone. And I'm like, whoa, what? Like, just fully just shock. And I'm training Kung Fu at the time. And I'm like, I put my hands up like this, like the Wing Chun guard. And I kept like putting them up, and I said, no, you're not going to beat my head in. You're going to go home. And I didn't like there was no physical conflict. Like, I've been in a few fights, but this was the one time where I felt really scared because it was like building. And I just had to be like, no, you're not. You're crazy. Go away. And there's been other times where I haven't had that luxury to talk to somebody. I've just been punched in the face. But this time it was very scary because I was like, what is about to happen? What am I doing? And yeah, he didn't leave, and I told him to go away, and I went inside, and I went and hid inside the fridge where we kept all the pigs and cows and sheep. And I just closed that door, and I waited for 5 or 6 minutes, and Chris, the manager, came back, and I told him what happened. And he was actually just really keen to have a fight. He was like, oh, we'll go find him. We'll go get him. And I was like, no way, I'm going home. I'm cycling out of here. And I got on my bike, and I just, biked home. But yeah, that Venom thing's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, some of that comes from, being raised on the internet and, being exposed to the opinions that the internet are known for. There's a lot of venom there, but so are the antidotes. So I think how long have we done? Yeah, we pretty much done the hour. Pat himself on the back for my goal, which was to improvise the whole thing. So
nice,
good one for that, Joseph. So let's wrap this bad boy up. Let us know. Well, I mean, the usual question is, I'd love to hear your take on this, but I always ask our guests if you have any words of wisdom or just like a Chinese proverb you really like, something along those lines. You're welcome to share it, and then it's let the audience know how to find you, which shouldn't be too far off from where our audience typically finds me.
One thing that great word of wisdom is, if you don't like something, change it. But recognize that a lot of things are out of your control. So try and change those things that are in your control, I guess. Another thing I learned just last week is if you're down in a slump and you're like, a bit depressed, you can do this exercise where you just look at your breakfast in the morning. You're like, oh yeah, I cooked that breakfast and I made myself a drink, a coffee, and a tea. And you kind of look at it and you're like, wow, was that really me? That kind of feels like a dream now. Like, that was 6 hours ago. And if you take that perspective to your depressed period and you think, in 5 years' time, I'm going to look back at this and I'm going to laugh. Like, it's just I'm not even going to be able to identify with it because it's going to be such a distant, blurry memory. Yeah, try and hold that perspective if you're feeling down, because everything passes, really. And you should try and change it and be a bit happier. But I mean, obviously that's a bit idealistic. Sometimes it's really tough. So
yeah, but so that's again, come back to get into the top of Mount Olympus. It's the most lofty ambition I can come up with to suit the analogy, and the attempt is where all the value comes from, not the destination.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. Classic. And yeah, if you want to find us, you can probably just scroll down, click the Debutify link.
Yep. Yeah. Just head on over to Debutify on YouTube, where Connor's videos are up. Unless you're already on the YouTube, because we are very likely posting this video on both channels. So to everybody who is a subscriber and a viewer of the Debutify, if you enjoyed this conversation, Ecomonics is released twice a week, and we bring on people not only who are, say, experts on drop shipping, but pretty much anybody in the e-commerce space is fair game. So we've had, sorry, my voice is drying out, end of the day for me, is, we've had affiliate marketers, we've had SEO experts, we've had a couple of developers, we've had teachers, especially people who specialize in, say, Udemy or Teachable or online learning platforms. We've had some truly remarkable people. If there's any episode that I'd love for people to check out, just to hear what it's like for me to be physically shaking for the most of the episode, was Greg Halpern. This was somebody I never in a million years would thought I would have the privilege to spend an hour with. And we actually chatted for an entire hour before we turned the recording on. And I was never so excited before in my life to meet somebody. So there are some truly extraordinary people that are in this space because they are trying to make their own way. That's the thing that everybody's got in common, is that everybody is trying to do things on their own. This is a community and an industry built off independence. And I've said it before that the true movers and shakers of the world, I think, are in this space. Not to denigrate many other amazing people doing amazing things, but what's going on over here is truly something fantastic, and I am honored to be able to do my part. So with that, Connor, it's been great talking with you. Lord knows we'll have another conversation pretty soon. And yeah, to our audience, and on both sides, on the Debutify YouTube, and also to my people on Ecomonics, y'all should get to know each other. It is a wonderful, extraordinary thing to be able to do what I do for all of you. So thank you and take care. We will check in soon. And I mean we, especially this time, because you'll be hearing from Connor pretty soon too.
You can hear from me right now. Thanks for having us. And yeah, have a great day.
Ahead of schedule. I like it.
Sweet ass.
All right. Take care.
Whatever project is there, so we get time for 1 week.
Hey, this is Joseph from Ecomonics. Just wanted to thank you for being here and for giving this content your time and attention. I hope you learned something. I can say with certainty, I have learned something with every episode that I have done, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. There's a couple of things you can do to help us out. If you want to check out the audio content, we are available on all major podcast platform distributors. And while you're there, give us a 5-star review. It helps a lot. And while you're here on YouTube, there's a lot of things you can do to help out as well. It's not going to take very long. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button for this episode, and hit the notification bell so when we have new content for you, it's going to be at your doorstep ASAP. Lastly, this podcast is created by Debutify, the best Shopify template available. It is 100% free for you to start, and it can change your life. It can make you so much more free than you are right now. So if this episode wasn't enough to convince you, I think a few more might do the trick. So have at it.